Hello and welcome to the Throw-In Hurling Show with me, Michael Verney, and delighted to be joined once again by Eddie Brennan and John Mullane to look ahead to what is a mouth-watering weekend of hurling action ahead. But gents, before we look ahead, we have to look back. We've been talking about it off air, we might as well talk about it straight away on air. John, you were there in a working capacity. Offaly under-20 All-Ireland champions. What a night, what an atmosphere, what an occasion.
Yeah, luckily enough, I got the call there Thursday to come up and cover the game. And one thing you don't know about me, I'm a massive Real Madrid fan. I absolutely adore Real Madrid. Back from the 1980s, watching Real Madrid on Eurosport. And I was saying when I got the call, I was saying, oh, geez, I'm going to miss the whole build-up to the Champions League and trying to win number 15. But I'll tell you, I'm so delighted that I took the opportunity to go to the game and to be given the opportunity to co-comment the game with Maron Kiley, because I was actually never witnessed an atmosphere like it in all my life. Never been at a game like it in regards, the capacity-wise, 25,000, the venue, perfect for the occasion. And it was just what the whole Offaly supporters brought to the whole occasion. It was just mind-blowing what they brought to it. And, I was up there, I got up there about 3 o'clock, and geez, I think they were even doing, there was no game on before the match, and I think the vast majority of the Offaly supporters were in the ground about nearly 2 hours before the match. And the noise that they generated when the team came onto the pitch, the noise that they generated throughout the match, and then in the aftermath of the match, then to see the scenes, it was an occasion. I'm for an underage match. I don't think I've ever witnessed anything like that. I can go back to 92 when we won the...
Jeez, there was a full house that day too.
Yeah, we won the under-21 in 92, and I was actually watered by the same day for that Waterford team. And Waterford had the bulk of that crowd. But there was just something different about Saturday night. Yeah, just hairs on the back of your neck. You even touched off air, Eddie, when that roar of Offaly goes up, it's kind of like, Jesus, it's and to go with that, the pressure that these Offaly players were under to go and deliver and perform, and it's all very well, you're getting all caught up in tickets and the euphoria around the team, but to be so experienced and level-headed, to be able to go and perform within that environment, and let's be honest about it, to perform the way they did was massive kudos to the Offaly management and massive kudos to the Offaly players, because for me, I thought they were excellent on the night, and I've watched this Offaly team, on many occasions this year, many occasions last year, and watched the minor final 2 years ago, and for me, I think that was I probably would rank that as probably their best performance out of all the matches that they played so far. And yeah, I suppose if you go back to the homecoming, you can even touch on the homecoming, Verney. But it's just the love affair that's attached between the supporters and his team. And I think that love affair now is actually nearly grown nationwide now, where an awful lot of people outside of Offaly have nearly a grow for this team and some of the players. But yeah, it was just an amazing game to be at, an amazing atmosphere, and I'm so glad I was there. Yeah.
We live in hope now as well, because you're you're thinking and hoping that in 4 or 5 years' time there could be the nucleus of a right good senior team to be competitive. That's the hope anyway. And I think that just you're talking about the buy-in from the support. Those lads, in fairness, have had the buy-in the minute they came on the scene in 2022 as minors, and it's just ratcheted up a couple of notches every time. But Ned, you'd say there's probably the nucleus of potentially a good senior team there in 3 or 4 years' time, and it seems to be something a bit different about them, doesn't there?
There is. Look, there's a kind of a real, I won't say innocence is the word, but a real kind of, it is what it is, and we just get on with it. Like they seem to be not getting too caught up in the psychological side of it, or they're not getting, I suppose from your playing days, hunger and hurt is a powerful motivator, and they obviously had that. But then, as John said, that can go either way. You can put huge pressure on yourself with that. But it was just brilliant to see they were all available for the media stuff there. They just took it in their stride. And for me, look, watching it, I was in working at it, and, meeting, I was it was lucky enough. I met loads of former Offaly players coming in along, like Jesus, Pat Cleary, Jim Troy. I think Barry Whelan was they were just all down. Ronnie Byrne came up to me, and you could see it in them. They just wanted it. Liam Hogan there as well, manager Ballyboden, all guys, and they just in their Offaly jerseys, so proud. And it was just the way they went about it. I thought it took them a couple of minutes to kind of really settle into it and see what Tip were doing. But I thought after about 12 minutes, they just took over the match, and they start carrying the ball very, very well. They had the +1, which I think Tip gave them possibly. I don't know what way that started. But once they saw that Tip were sitting back, they sent a few early balls in, Tip mopped them up. They then just switched up their game, and they start carrying the ball through the lines, working it out. 1 or 2 broke down, they stuck at it. But little things, I think, when you see a team performing in All-Ireland final, the way they hurled really well. They hurled some good tactical stuff. And for me, probably the little moment, what was a great moment in the match, Screeney hit some massive points. There was some very, very difficult frees he got. But the sideline little cameo that Sean Stack wasn't up to speed, and I think he might have got caught with how quick the boy's done it. But Jesus, to be at that in an All-Ireland final, it's brilliant.
Some cojones, isn't it, to even try that?
And especially at that point, I think that was shortly after Tip got the equalising goal, or got the goal back after they got the first one. So they were zoned in on it. But no, it was a great occasion. And like I said, as Muller said there, I think everyone probably has a favourite team. But why that is, it's not because Tip were beaten. It's because you have another team now coming back up potentially to the top table and bringing more teams in around the party. And that's what we all want. We obviously, you could turn around and say, well, could there be a saga with this next year? The two teams could collide again, potentially, which would be another brilliant occasion. But, and there's probably a rivalry grown between these two groups of players. But it was a fitting end to the under-20 competition. The only little bitter taste for me is that it's a brilliant competition, but it's over now. We're early summer and it's over. And even too, I suppose a lot of these boys are facing into the Leaving Cert this week. So it's tough going, but absolute respect to them all. Both sets of players served up a great occasion. And like John said too, I was lucky if there was a time I regretted not playing and retiring, it was 2013 when Tip came to town in that match in Nolan Park. It was great to savour that atmosphere and be there. It was brilliant to enjoy. But the other night now was just an absolutely incredible atmosphere. And you could sense the energy and the connection even with the supporters. When Offaly came back and got that second goal, the crowd really rode in hard behind them. And if ever there was a time that the 16-man helped them, it was then. But full credit to them. And it's great. Look, hopefully, like you said there, hopefully, my dream, or what I would like to see, is that in 3 or 4 years' time, your Leinster teams, Leinster has been stocked up again. You have 6, 7, 8 teams coming stronger into Leinster.
But it's gas, like you just touched on there. Some of these lads are doing their leaving, sir. I mean, that's what gets lost in all this.
And that's the question of the 21, 18 age. That was why that was brought in, the 17 and 20. And you look at it now, a hell of a lot of them were doing their leaving cert today.
Yeah, but you see, this is what gets lost. Like we seem to think that, Jesus, these lads are 21, going on 22 years of age. Some of these lads are still only probably 18, 19 years of age. So, and even people have commented on the fact that, oh, Jesus, you know, this is going to be a big step up from under 20 up to senior. And look, we do realise that there is a massive step, but geez, lads, these lads still have an enormous amount of time before we'll even judge them at a senior level, where they still have another 2-3 years before we can fully judge them and say, Jesus, they're ready for senior now. So I don't think we should be. Again, I go back to it. Even, you know, when the likes of Screeney and them were thrown in for the league early doors, of saying, like, you know, Offaly have a duty of care now to mind these lads. And, you know, I know some of them now will be involved going into Saturday's match against Laois. And I don't think, again, there should be massive focus or massive expectation on them to go and deliver this Saturday, because, you know, this is what gets lost. I mean, some of these lads are you know, I'm trying to think back when I was 18, 19 years of age, like even when I was 21 years of age, and I played in that Munster Final in 22, and, you know, it was only a bit of a thing. And then it was only probably the following year when Jerry Fitzpatrick came on board with us that, you know, I physically started developing. And that was, what, 22, 23 years of age. So the likes of Screeney, Dan Burke and these lads, they still have 3-4 years before, you know, and I still don't think we can say, you know, rush them and
yeah.
Because I think we would do a disservice to these lads. And maybe I think Offaly now have to look at this group and try and nurture them right, try and maximise as much as they can out of this group. And I've no doubt they will, because we've seen that in the past with Offaly teams where they've been very, very good. When a very good exceptional team comes along, they seem to be able to maximise as much as they can out of it. And we seen that when they won the All-Irelands in 94 and 96, they offered those under 21 groups back between 89 and 92. They got anything from 7 to 8 to 9 players out of those groups. And I feel that they can actually do the same with this group of players, that there's no reason why they can't get anything between 6 to 10 players if they do their business right. And I've no, even speaking to Duignan last week, I mean, I was absolutely blown away by some of the detail and the content he was telling me that was going on behind the scenes. I was kind of like, wow, Jesus, even my own county could take a leaf out of their book. And I think, you know, obviously the likes of Mick is moving on now, but I'd say still would think that the likes of Duignan and those boys will still be in the background and still be, you know, trying to get the, you know, trying to do right by these lads and have things right for these lads going forward, that they are nurtured right and that they are given the best opportunity for them to develop into becoming the senior players that we all want them to be, you know.
94 and 98, Mull, you were trying to take Dancing at the Crossroads off the Wexford boys.
My apologies to Larry O'Gorman. He'll fucking kill me for that. and Liam Griffin, jeez, and Tom Dempsey. Christ.
You're all right. A quick one, Mull. Before we get into talking about the action, or I'll actually throw it to you, Eddie. Before we get into talking about the action, you've seen it from a manager's point of view and a player's point of view. You mentioned there about all the Offaly lads that were up for interview, would say, before the under-20 final. And I know that's poles apart from, would say, a senior provincial final or a senior All-Ireland final. But the fact that we have 4 teams competing in a provincial final this weekend, Saturday evening, and the Munster Final obviously on Sunday, and nobody was available for interview, or there was no press event or anything like that. What do you make of that, Ned, as regards, like, to me, the fundamentals of it all is, you know, promote and publicise our games. And I just don't think it's right. Like, we're in a bit of a vacuum here. We're recording on Wednesday morning here, and there's been little or nothing about the finals yet. Just because it's kind of hard. You're self-generating. You're coming up with your own content. There should be, you know. Do you know what I mean?
Angles, yeah. Look, it's very disappointing, Michael, to be honest. And I think the calendar year is contributing to that. I think I know the last couple of seasons, the media guys are saying they have very, very little time to prepare for an All-Ireland final when ordinarily you had a couple of weeks to kind of get your few bits tidied up. It's also, look, the game itself, and you often hear the guys on the Sunday game, and Don Logan in particular talking about they promoting our game, and Liam Sheedy, they're very passionate men about that. And this is just not promoting this. Like, I mean, we want to make this the biggest show in town. You know, you want that, Jesus, Saturday night, you know, blow the roof off it with the Leinster Final. Same on Sunday with the Munster Final. The Munster Final probably is just that bit ahead of it naturally. But in terms of preparing teams, like, I think it's, like, I know as a player, certain lads are comfortable with that, certain lads are not. I think by what Offaly done last week, they probably made the whole group nice and relaxed. It was one in, all in, you know, whereas sometimes as a manager, you probably look at it and go, oh, God, you know, maybe so-and-so isn't great, you know, isn't happy doing that. And it's down to individual players too, if they're comfortable with that. And I suppose they sometimes worry about, you know, an angle coming. But by and large, I just think it's disappointing that we haven't, you know, Jesus, you love reading about it. I mean, even playing, I used to love looking at the Munster matches, the bigging up of, you know, what are the players saying, what are they thinking, just getting a little bit of insight. But it's building the occasion. And I think, unfortunately, with this, it's something we're not. We're not building the occasion into what it needs to be. You know, you want young lads, like, ideally on the back of what's after happening, making the Leinster Final the biggest showpiece in the province, absolutely, and really giving that the oxygen it needs. But it's not, and it's like, you know, even there, like this week, like there's such a high about the Offaly thing. This would be an ideal story to supplement it, and big up the McDonagh Final and big up the Leinster Final. But it's probably, I think, like I said earlier, the calendar year isn't helping either, because everything is so compressed. You know, you're coming out of the All-Ireland final hurling now, and you haven't even the week to soak it in and relax and take it in and hear what's been said and see homecomings. Straight away, the journalists are gone straight into the All-Ireland football. You know, so there's just so much going on. There's only so much you can get done. But I think it's disappointing that you haven't players or, you know, whoever being available, that there isn't an event promoting the whole thing.
The thing about it, Ned, is that I don't think you're actually going to talk about the match that much. We're not going to ask you like who you're marking and how are you going to mark them and what way you're going to set up.
About tactics, you're not going to talk about setups. You're just it's about the occasion, and you want to see lads, like, you want to know the characters. And I used to love reading the programs years ago, back in, you know, the late 80s and that, and the early 90s, reading the programs and see what lads said. And, you know, just I suppose leading into it, and all the lads nowadays, geez, most of them players, they're all smart guys, they're all, you know, college going fellas. They're you know, they're no backs to the clocks when it comes to this type of stuff. They're not going to spill secrets. They're not going to turn around and say this is what we're doing. And you just want to know, you know, what do they like doing the weeks of matches and how they approach it. You know, bring them into their world a little bit without, you know, giving away secrets, like, or whatever. Like, and that's where I think the younger kids, the teenagers, love to see, oh, you know, what's Rogers doing this week? You know, what's Gillan doing? You know, that type of thing. So it's a pity in a way. I just think we're not giving it the platform it deserves, really.
Even that program, remember that program? Thank GA, it's from Friday. Remember all that was a Marty Morris used to present it, and used to go out to the players' communities, or you know Dan Shannon could have been driving an oil lorry, or you know, could be going to their place of work, or you know, their GA club. And you know, I think stuff like that is badly missed. But you know, am I surprised? I'm not really surprised, lads, because we were having the exact same conversation we were having this time last year. Nothing has changed, and unless maybe the GA put something in place, put a protocol in place that, you know, two players, whether it be a Munster final, All-Ireland semi-final, obviously you have to do it for an All-Ireland final. Maybe it's for the GA to step in and say before even the ball is thrown in the championship, that, you know, come Munster final time, whatever two teams in Leinster final, whatever two teams are in it. I'm not saying this week. That could have been done last week, where you could have done it maybe a Wednesday or a Thursday.
Boxed off, Mull, 10 days before the game and all done.
Exactly. And I think it's as Eddie touched on it, it's a loss to the game. And as we're probably, the game is in a place now where players are being hidden behind helmets. I'd say the vast majority of players now could walk down the street, bar a couple of the Limerick players and bar the likes of TJ Reid and a few others, and they're unrecognisable. So I think the more promotion and the more players can put themselves out there, I think it's more beneficial for players as well going forward in life, and particularly in afterlife after the GAA as well, because your career comes and goes, lads, and you have to be able to fall back in something, and whatever the fallback is, but getting your name out there and having your name out there most certainly helps you to open up doors in things outside of the GAA.
100%. All these names obviously will definitely be front and centre come Sunday afternoon. Limerick and Clare, third Munster final in a row. A cracking game awaits. Ned, we'll just focus on a Clare point of view here first. Very kind of similar situation maybe that they were going into back in 1995 when they eventually got over the line, having, there was a possibility of losing 3 Munster finals in a row back then. It's kind of it's a funny one. They're coming up against Limerick, a side they know well, a side they've pushed unbelievably close, a side they've beaten in the round robin last year. But Clare need to win a Munster title, don't they? It's amazing to think you're looking back to 1998 since Clare's last Munster title.
Yeah, it's mad. And my God, that was a fair spicy affair. Themselves in Waterford. I remember I can still see Brian Lohan trying to saw the head off Micheál White, I think. Colin Lynch pulled on Ali Baker. It was a fair edge to a game, and yeah, I feel it's time for Clare to deliver now, and I think we all admire them, and geez, you look at every team and you admire certain traits, and I think we, from a popularity point of view, something different. You'd love to see this Clare team, getting over the line and winning the Munster title. It'd be good for the Munster Championship and all that. But if there's pressure on either team, for me, it's all on Clare. It's mad.
Isn't that mad? Isn't that mad? We have a team going for 6 in a row. Yeah.
It is. Limerick are chasing a piece of history. There's no pressure on them, in my opinion. I think the pressure is on Clare. They have to deliver this. They have to get the job done. They have to get over the line, because they've been close. And if you were to turn around on Sunday evening and Clare have the Munster, will it have delivered a big blow to Limerick's chances to win the All-Ireland? I don't think it will. I think they still have a great chance to win the All-Ireland if they don't win this Munster. But if Clare don't win it, it's another big, scar on them. And for Brian Lohan, if he turns around at the end of the year, if he turns around Sunday evening, he has a Munster title, league title. That's their year. They're good. And I know they'll want more, and you'd expect them to go further. But if they come out at the end of this year and they have a Munster league title, that's a big year for Clare hurling. But Jesus, Eddie, I do think they need this Munster title badly.
But I fully agree. I think all the Clare pressure is on Clare going into this match. And look, from a Limerick point of view, I mean, lads, if they don't win another trophy, and these lads reflect on their career, what they're after winning to date. I mean, if you told some of these Limerick players back in 2018 that, you'll be after winning 5 Munster championships, you have to win in 5 All-Ireland titles, you have to win in many national leagues, 3 national leagues.
3, yeah.
Three
just on that, Mull, as well, now that you said, Kylie's never lost a final. Imagine to say he's never lost a final.
So, lads, the rivalry is here. They're neighbours. Clare would love nothing more than to be the county that would inflict that first final defeat on Kylie. Would stop. Let's be honest about it. Munster immortality. 6 in a row has never been done before. And lads, if you think 5 in a row is going to be a phenomenal achievement, if this Limerick team pull off this 6 in a row, I mean, Eddie, some of you Leinster boys, you're realising now how tough it is in Munster to win Munster championships. If for Limerick to win 6 of these championships, right? 2 of them were in the old knockout system. To win another 4 with the 2 that was in a round robin system, cutthroat. would be a phenomenal achievement. Let's be honest with it. And Clare and Brian Lohan would love to be the team to become the first team to stop John Kiley, where, you know,
take them down in the final
of winning a final and becoming winning 14 finals in a row and winning the 6 in a row. They'd love nothing more. And lads, if they were to stop the 6 in a row, Jesus, I know you're saying, Eddie, Jesus, that's their season. They'll be content of winning. They'll have a National League and a Munster Championship. Then all of a sudden, you know, come next Monday, you know, Brian Lohan and this Clare team are saying, well, lads, we can go on and do what no other Clare team has done before and do the clean sweep of winning the league, the Munster Championship and the All-Ireland. And there's no reason why they couldn't do that if they were to overcome Limerick Sunday. And I actually think if they were to overcome Limerick Sunday, I think they'd grow even more, lads, you know.
They'd be in the front door as well if they do. There'd be no playing Leinster champions in the semi-final. They potentially maybe could play Cork through the back door. But Eddie, what have you made of, you know, they were probably brilliant for 55 minutes against Limerick. A few lapses, to say the least, in that round-robin game, and ended up blowing a big lead. Bounced back brilliantly the week after against Cork. I would say mixed the good with the bad against Waterford at different stages. Thought they should have been out the gap in that game. And they were okay, I would say, against maybe a revitalised Tipperary. What have you made of Clare's form throughout the round-robin stages?
Well, and if you went even further, go back to the league final, they're having that fallow period, they're having that valley period, and it's kind of hurting them. It's what they're doing is they're kind of leaving the door open, and Limerick came through the door when the opportunity arose. Other teams maybe didn't. Waterford very nearly did. You know, little bit of you know, a decision went their way. So that to me is the one area that we know what this Clare team can do. They have the artillery, they have the firepower, they have the depth in their squad more than any other squad in the championship this year to take on Limerick and dethrone the All-Ireland champions if that's to happen and Munster champions. But what's probably the concern and what the big target for them would be is when they get into those winning positions to put the opposition out of sight, like to put it to bed. And they had those opportunities. And yeah, look, you can say maybe Limerick are back a little bit on what their usual standards are, and yet they roll out a Munster Championship in position 1 and straight to the Munster Final. So for Clare, look, it's trying to get this monkey off their back. Yeah, they got over him last year at the round robin, but to get over him now in a final when it really, really matters is obviously the big challenge for them. And if I'm Brian Lohan, you're looking at that, you're stealing the heads for the boys, you're looking at this and saying, lads, when we start to maybe, you know, if we can get into a position of dominance, which they're able to do, it's then that when the opposition starts to grind you down, that you have to be able to then, you know, collectively, you know, trigger something that you go, no, lads, not today. We're not lying down. We're not going to let these lads give them any sniff of it whatsoever. This is Limerick we're talking about. How do you say that about a team like that? But to me, if Clare can sort that, if Clare can make sure that they don't go asleep for 10 or 12 minutes and allow Limerick control the game completely, then that's where the win and the losing is for me anyway, for Clare to get over the line. And also then Brian Lohan, his bench, you know, what team he starts, who does he roll, you know, what time and who comes on at certain times, because, you know, the day of the month, the round robin, you know, the whole Tony Kelly thing, and we spoke about it long and, you know, hard about what were the choices for Brian Lohan. Well, it just didn't work on the day, and if anything, you know, it just, Limerick used it as possibly ammunition themselves. So there's all that going on, but certainly from a hurling perspective, it'd be great for Clare to get over the line. It'd be great for this bunch of players because they have a serious crop of lads, but they're taking on the Masters, and by God, it's going to be a cracking game. We've had 2 previous games, one that went to extra time, one that last year was a point in it, I think, 123, 122 or 24.
It should have been a free to level it realistically at the end.
Yeah, it looked that way at the end of it, but you're getting absolute belters of games, and you'd expect that, you know, the same will happen this Sunday.
Where do you see Limerick at, Mull, at the minute? Obviously beaten by Cork, and it's gas when they concede a penalty at the end and a point to lose the game by 2, and there's a load of question marks after, and all of a sudden their half back line is finished, and all sorts of different question marks about different lads. They were in a winning position in that game. They've bounced back spectacularly from defeats down through the years. Like 2019 semi-final against Kilkenny, don't think they lost another championship game. Am I right in saying until Clare beat them last year? I think Clare beat them last year. They didn't lose another championship game until Cork beat them this year. They bounced back fairly well against Waterford, and you'd say the train, like, would you say, Mull, that the train is firmly on track, even despite of the potential of certain lads that they could be missing? Definitely going to be missing Seamus Flanagan anyway. I'm hearing that other lads are back in the mix or in with a shout anyway. But what sort of health do you think Limerick are in at the minute?
It's hard to know. It's hard to really judge him, based on the Waterford game and the Tipperary game. And look, in those two games, both Waterford and Tipperary elected to go with a sitting 6, so that the Burke was sitting back and Ronan Maher was sitting back. And look, lads, we all know if you go with a sitting 6 against Limerick, I mean, you're asking for trouble. But yet, we've seen in the Cork match and in the Clare match up in Ennis, when both Cork and Clare pushed up and went at Limerick, that they asked the questions, and there was times there where Limerick, as good as they are, there was a tendency where they struggle in many occasions in both those matches. And I feel that will be the approach by Clare again the weekend, that they will push up, they'll go mano. So, yeah, look, against Waterford, against Tipperary, they were very, very good, when they got into the groove, when they got into the rhythm. They hit that 30-point mark against Waterford the last day out, 49 shots at the post. But you just touched on Flanagan, Peter Casey. They're going to be massive, massive losses for Limerick the weekend. Look, they're proven on Munster Championship Day. They have the experience. Both have been match winners on Munster Championship Day, and Clare don't have to worry about it either. Now, obviously, Limerick have the luxury of bringing in a couple of the younger players. I'm sure Dara O'Donovan will be back in the mix. Sean Finn likewise, so that will strengthen him. Strengthen them more. But yeah, it's hard to gauge off of both the Waterford and Tipperary games, because Tipperary were so poor on the day. Waterford, did they bring the same energy levels and drive, and they probably played into Limerick's hands 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it will be very, very interesting, Sunday, where Limerick are at. Look, obviously, it's going to be a big ask for Clare to win the match, but Clare have shown time and time again, they don't fear this Limerick team. They don't roll out the red carpet like other teams do before they play them. They fully believe that they're every bit as good as Limerick. That they fully believe that they can beat Limerick. So I see this game going right down to the wire. I see there being very, very little separating both these sides again. What, a point or two is separated either side? Well, bar the win up in Ennis, with the exception of that match, there's been very little to separate both these sides over the course of the last 2 or 3 years.
But I think what you're seeing, Muller, as well, is Limerick. When Limerick presents you with goal chances, you have to convert them. Like last year in that match, I think, was it Ryan Taylor had one? Yeah. And somebody else was maybe me. I don't know, Shane Meehan possibly, or someone had a goal chance in the first half. Limerick cleared great chances just coming to half time last year, and they butchered them. I think Taylor ends up getting a point out of his one. And the same then in Ennis this year, they had 2 good chances. So whenever you get a sniff of a goal chance against Limerick, you have to put them in. And the evidence was there that, albeit the last minute one, but when Cork got goals and Kilkenny got goals, that was the difference.
Give us one matchup, Ned, that you're looking forward to. There's several of them going to be fairly tasty.
There's some very tasty ones. I think there's going to be a Savage Needle with you've seen Gillan, like it doesn't bother him who he's marking, and any one of those three full backs for Clare could go in on him and go at him. Like himself and Hogan definitely have. There's some little bit of undercurrent there with the two of them. They always seem to clash. But what I'm really interested to see is how Rodgers goes at Declan Hannon. I think that's an interesting one because you have a very experienced leader with this Limerick team. Out in the flanks, there's two more mighty battles. But just a young fella like him who is a real talent, and I love watching him. But just to see now how he's going to go after Declan Hannon or what way that's going to match, it's just, we've seen it over the years, different lads doing that. And it's one that I'm looking forward to because it's probably the one that's going to give Clare an in into this match. And it's just be interesting to see because Rodgers is having a good season. And Hannon has been nice and steady. Probably not the Declan Hannon of a few years ago, but he's still steady enough there, lads, and he's still important for this Limerick team to have him on the pitch.
The battle of the two keepers wise, I think it's going to be fascinating because I actually think Nicky Quaid has nearly been Limerick's best player, maybe outside of maybe Garrod Hegarty, Kyle Hayes. He's definitely been in the top three. He's been outstanding through Munster. Yeah. Well, any one matchup you're looking forward to?
Yeah, for me, I think it's Shane O'Donnell and Dan Morrissey. I think, Shane O'Donnell got the better of Dan Morrissey up in Ennis. Shane O'Donnell he's in hurler of the year form. He's definitely in the top three at the moment. It's very, very difficult to curtail his influence, lads. And if Dan Morrissey can anyway curtail Shane O'Donnell's influence Sunday, it'll go a long way to Limerick winning the game. Likewise, if Shane O'Donnell can get on top, seen time and time again, lads, what he brings to the table. His link play, he can score goals, he can take a point, he can set up scores. He's key for Clare, and I think that's going to be a key battle on Sunday.
Call it, Mull.
I just have a funny feeling Clare are going to do it. I think the time has come. I think Eddie's touched on. I think what is it? They've lost the last 6 finals since 1998. Limerick are going for 6 in a row, and I just think on the law of averages, I think you can't just keep getting to finals and losing them. And I think they're due one, and I think Sunday might be the day that they deliver that first Munster crown and bring the Mick Mackey Cup back to the banner for the first time since 1998.
I don't think the mathematical genius that is Paul Kinnerk works off the law of averages, so I think it's Limerick for me. Eddie, what do you think?
Sure, look, the record is how do you go against them, and that's what I said. Like I said, if you're down to your last chip in Vegas and it's red or black, it's if you're down to it's green or saffron.
Yeah.
You're probably going to go with them. And from a hurling perspective, I would love not more than to see this Clare team not just taking down Limerick. I think be whatever we get, it's going to be incredible for Limerick to do what they've done if they can win 6 Munsters. But from a hurling perspective, neutrals, we'd love to see Clare getting that the Mick Mackey back to Ennis and what that will mean. But that's your heart ruling your head. And for me, if I'm down to that last chip, and you're looking at Limerick's record, how can you go against them? But
lads, you talk about Nolan Park Saturday, 45,000
stadium
still out. The weather possibly going to be good. Jesus,
gonna be rocking.
An occasion really to look forward. I can't wait.
No, it's going to be an absolute belter of a game. I think the scheduling is a bit better this year, lads. That they don't have the 2 provincial finals back to back. I just think it's. I don't know about you, but I need time to digest hurling. You know what I mean. You don't like rolling from one game into the next because it just needs a little bit of time to percolate, and you need to think about things that you've seen. So I like the fact that that's on Saturday. The Leinster Final's on Saturday and Munster's on Sunday, and obviously we have the Joe McDonagh, which we'll touch on as well. Just on Eddie, I'll fire it over to you straight away. Kilkenny and Dublin Saturday evening in Croke Park. Probably not been talked about as much as obviously Limerick's drive for 5 or the fix for 6 in Munster. Kilkenny going for 5 in a row in Leinster, kind of quietly enough almost.
Yeah, it's an very interesting game, and like I said, they're the team that we mightn't have expected. I think Mull might have said that he had a feeling they might do something this year, early doors, but I think Dublin are arriving into this Leinster final in serious health and in a great position. Have they anything to be nervous about? No, they don't, because they showed a couple of weeks ago that they were as good as Kilkenny. They have the tools and the armory to go at Kilkenny. I think, Sean Brennan is, for me, is a key man, because I think his puck outs the last day, gave Dublin a great platform in that match. So I think that's where Kilkenny needs to really, pay attention to, because Dublin walked the ball up the field. You look at both the goals that they got and even another goal chance that Owen Murphy saved in the first half. They came from deep. They came from nearly the half back line, a couple of good passes and runners coming from deep. So
isn't it funny, Ned, with the way Dublin play, you can nearly see a goal chance from like 65, even their own 65. You can nearly kind of see it building almost, and to get this head of steam up and lads are running everywhere. You can see it from not just when the ball is on the 21, you can see it kind of materialising out the field almost. That's the way they play.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's smart play, because if you look at what's happening, and to get players to understand, you have to open doors for your teammates as well. So what does Donald Burke do? He goes drifting out to the sideline. He leaves Paddy Deegan with a question, a dilemma. Do I stick or twist? Dublin then have, clearly, there's two options. We find Donald and we get him to shoot. Or if the centre-back decides to go and tag him, we now have a little gap to go through. And, So it's smart play, it's clever play, and it's something that Kilkenny have to pay attention to, because if they don't, well, you have a little bit more space in Croke Park, and Dublin will enjoy that. But look, it's I suppose there's going to be a challenge for Kilkenny, because you've Adrian Mullen coming back. Talk is John Donnelly is injured, and he broke his thumb against Wexford. So if in the form he's in, if he isn't to play, he's going to be an awful loss. And if he is, then you're going, well, how functional is he? But he's critical. He has been Kilkenny's go-to player this season, to be fair. He's having a great season. And like in Mullen, then you're looking at him arriving in. Look, how sharp will he be? That's okay. It's not a bad replacement to have if you do lose JD. But at the same time, I think Kilkenny are going to have to hurl well. They've had, you go back to the last Leinster Final in 2021, I was up at it, and Dublin lost a couple of fellas with COVID at the start of that, before that match. And it was only at the end, I think, really, that Kilkenny maybe got a penalty where Jake Malone, maybe they got a penalty, and that took the match to Kilkenny. Whereas up to that, Dublin had done really, really well. So, it's a mouth-watering match too. I know, look, the Munster obviously gets the little bit more because of the competition that's down there. But I think this is a great Leinster Final in prospect, and I'm really looking forward to it, because ordinarily or historically you might have felt Kilkenny will have a decent edge or decent, favouritism to get the job done. But I don't see it that way this Saturday. I think this Dublin team have every chance, and Kilkenny are going to have to pull out a huge performance if they're going to beat them, because Dublin have a couple of seasoned guys that are playing really, really well. Like, you're probably looking at Danny Sutcliffe and Chris Crummy and these lads, and maybe they're looking at it going, they may not have a few more seasons left in them. So this is maybe one where they could turn around and snatch, a Leinster title, which would be a massive thing for them. There's not too many Dublin lads that have two Leinster titles in their pocket. So Danny Sutcliffe could be that guy. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. And like I said there, as a Kilkenny man, I'm nervous because this Dublin team are decent.
Mull, just from a Dublin point of view, there's a possibility that Mikey Carey could be out now as well with a lower leg injury. I think he was going for a scan on that yesterday. He'd be a big loss for his athleticism. Talk of John Donnelly still potentially featuring, but as Eddie says there, will he be up to full throttle? Adrian Mullen is hardly going to be at full throttle if he does feature. Whereas you're looking at Dublin and you're thinking, they gave it to Kilkenny for an hour and maybe left it behind them in Parnell Park. Right good performance against Galway. Like, they'll probably never get a better opportunity to win a Leinster title.
No, they won't. And Mikey Carey is going to be a colossal loss, because what Mikey Carey brings, he brings legs. John Donnelly, as Eddie touched on, what John Donnelly last, he scored 7 points. He's in the form of his life. He's going to be a big loss. I think if Adrian Mullen is back fit, I think he will start, because I think what game was it last year? I think he was out and he came, but did he come back for the All-Ireland semi-final? Yeah. Was it against Clare? I think one sure thing you will see this weekend, you won't see Donald Burke being able to peel off a Paddy Deegan or being able to peel off like he done up in Salt Hill and not being tracked. I'd say what you'll see a touch on the weekend, he'll be getting a bit of the Tony Kelly treatment off of Mikey Butler. Where
I was just going to say to you, Mull, do you expect him to go out into the half line and track him? Because if Donald Burke is kept to a point or two from play, you'd say big advantage Kilkenny.
Absolutely. Well, it's a no-brainer. Like, I mean, Mikey Butler has gone toe-to-toe with Tony Kelly, and Tony Kelly is probably a similar player in the way he plays with Donald Burke, you know, kind of loves to go in that floating number 11 role. And look, Mikey Butler has tried and tested in going and, you know, putting out that flame. So I would be shocked if Mikey Butler isn't detailed to go and follow Donald Burke wherever he goes. And there's no better man than Mikey Butler. He's probably the best in the business to go and put out that flame and just, you know, wherever he goes, you follow. And, you know, we've seen in last year's Leinster Final where Mikey Butler kind of brings a different dynamic to Kilkenny. When he goes out into the half-back line, he can become an attacker as well, like the likes of Chris Crummy. So 100%, I think that matchup will definitely happen, you know. I'd be shocked if not. And, you know, Kilkenny then can juggle the pack. You know, there's no reason why Paddy Deegan then can't go back into the full back line. He could pick up Ronan Hayes, but I think a lot of Derek Ling's planning this week will be focused on, you know, taking the learnings from how Dublin opened them up with that running game, running off the shoulder, coming in with a blue wave through the middle third, and secondly, will be trying to nullify or curtail the influence of Donald Burke. Hence, why I think Mikey Butler will be on the weekend.
Eddie, I know we say this is a glorious chance for the Dubs, but historically, the record against Kilkenny is absolutely shocking. Yes. They've beaten them once since 1942. Once in championship since 1942, Portlaoise 2013, and that was a replay, and that was a patched up Kilkenny team as well. And they didn't fall over the line, but they beat them by a goal. They met in 14, Kilkenny won by 12. They met in 16, Kilkenny won, I think it could have been by 12 again. If you look at in recent years, that COVID game where Dublin came from 16 points down and ended up losing by 1, that was the closest they got to them until the Parnell Park game a couple of weeks ago. So, like, Kilkenny have always found a way against Dublin, realistically, for the last 82 years, bar 1 year.
Yeah, no, and that sits there. Yeah, there's that record is there. So look, history is not on their side either. And look, Kilkenny rolling into a Leinster Final in Croke Park. If it's a place they like to be, it's there on Leinster Final day. And you know, it'll drag a performance out of them. But I suppose it's what Kilkenny do, because I'm sure Kilkenny will have looked at that match and saw, well, you know, what do we do well that day? But equally then they'll have to look at where Dublin got their scores from and how the fact that, you know, they got 2 good goal chances, they converted 2 of them, they had 2 others where they walked the ball through, and that's something that Derek Ling would be very keen to nullify. Like, I mean, the reality is, if Mikey Butler goes and tags, then it's where Dublin plays Donald Burke, because you'd be saying the next side of that is his game is floating, so it probably is a good fit for Mikey Butler. And Mikey Butler probably hasn't been the Mikey Butler of the last 2 seasons either this season. So maybe this could be the little trigger for Mikey to get going, to be him, you know, to be himself, that he has that detail. But yeah, Kilkenny will want to also going the direct route as well. Like, would you like to be going maybe in 2 weeks' time again, potentially going down to Thurles to possibly face into Cork maybe? Or whatever happens, you know, with the McDonagh lads. But you're saying, oh, Jesus, you want to stay out of that quarter final, because we've seen in the last couple of seasons like that becomes a battleground. There's an attrition there, and you're potentially going to, you know, face into the Munster finalists in an All-Ireland semi-final if you have to go the back route. So I think that they'll want to win this. They'll want to make a little bit of history, and I think look, what's another thing too? I think Paddy Deegan as captain is a big one too as well. Like, he's a guy who is absolutely, so dedicated, and he's Mr. Kilkenny at the moment, and probably a leader of this group for the last couple of seasons. So I think their cause is going to be great as well. I know they've won plenty, but going back to the question there, look, history isn't on Dublin's side, but I still think that they won't get a better opportunity to make that, to change that little bit of history. I think they have a huge opportunity, and they have a good, strong squad. They have a good, strong panel there. And I don't think they'll get a better opportunity in the next couple of seasons to win a Leinster title. So if they're powerfully motivated and they're hungry, then Kilkenny are going to have their hands full.
But will they win it, Eddie? That's the question.
Possibly not, but I definitely think the John Donnelly thing is significant, lads. It's another little. If he's not, if John is not at the form he's been in at the moment, or he's not at full tilt, I think he gives you such a work rate. Yes, he's added the scores this season, but look, I find it very hard to bet against the lads in that regard. Like, I still think they've enough lads to get the job done, because there's other lads playing well at the moment, but they're still good. They're going to have to perform, and like I said there, I suppose if one team has that little belief and that to go down the straight and back themselves, Kilkenny have it probably.
Yeah, it's Kilkenny after extra time for me. Mull, what do you reckon?
And to be fair to the Dubs, I suppose they backed up that performance against Kilkenny, and look, they were talked up going down to Solid, and they backed it up with a very, very good performance. I don't know. I just feel when Kilkenny, teams that come up against Kilkenny and the other team are being talked up, I think that's when Kilkenny kind of grind the teeth, roll up the sleeves, and say, "Well, hold on a minute, we're going to put these boys to bed." And I think Eddie touched on there. I think there'll be a realization that this prize is massive, because you don't want to be facing down the other side of the draw where you potentially could be playing Cork, Clare, and Limerick, and that's going to be a massive ask to go and win the All Ireland. So I think Kilkenny, they'll be driven. I think they'll be on their guard. I think they'll show the ultimate respect to this Dubs team. But I just think Kilkenny on Leinster Final day, I think the likes of TJ, TJ and Co, Mullen, Murphy on the goal, Cody, I think they'll just find a way, and I think they'll have enough to win this match by 2 or 3 points.
Speaking of prizes, lads, obviously a massive prize up for grabs for the winner of the Joe McDonagh. Not only the Joe McDonagh Cup, but also a gateway into Leinster next year, which is huge, and obviously an All-Ireland preliminary quarter-final as well. Ned, a former Laois manager, you're the only man to have brought Laois to a Joe McDonagh Cup. Laois beat Offaly by, I think it was 221-24 when they met in the group stages. A couple of last-minute goals kind of tipped the balance. How do you see this one going? And do you see last Saturday having much of a bearing on this Saturday?
Sure. Look, momentum is there for Offaly now. They have huge energy, and the supporters, and by God, they're going to travel. I was looking on Ticketmaster there last night, and by God, there's not too many tickets left in the Lower Hogan and Lower Cusacks. So there's obviously going to be a good atmosphere up there, right good atmosphere, and that atmosphere will be there for the McDonagh Final. It's a great occasion for both teams. And look, Laois probably were a little bit indifferent, but that results probably turned around. I think they went through a sticky patch before that. There was a little bit of unrest, and they seem to have come out of it with a result there that has steadied the ship for Willie Maher, and they're looking good health up to now. So they'll go into that match and they won't fear Offaly. If anything, they'll really relish the opportunity. But you'd have to say, look, Offaly have huge momentum behind them with the 20s now and the supporters. And I think probably realistically too, Offaly probably, we were talking about earlier on, I think Offaly need to win this now. They need to get this McDonagh done. They've kind of slipped up the last couple of seasons. So if they're going to continue on the trajectory that they're on, and with a view to getting them back up, like I said, I was in Nolan Park for the league match. The Offaly team, weren't out of place playing Kilkenny that day. Yeah, Kilkenny got home in the end comfortably, but they've shown they're capable. So I think with a view to progressing this, I think if Michael Duignan is to hand over the reins to whoever at the end of this season, and he has Laois back into, or he has Offaly back into the Leinster Championship, an under-20 All-Ireland, an under-20 football 2 years ago, was it? Like that's a fair innings for a chairman, and I think he will want that. But I think if Offaly don't get the job done against Laois, it'd be kind of a little blot in their copybook, I think, for the season. But it has an interesting match because there's been very little to separate both these teams. And look, I obviously have a little loyalty to the Laois boys as well. A lot of really good lads in that squad. And look, knowing them, I'd love to see them get it done. But I suppose we won't be disappointed who wins that either way. But you know, the reward then of going and playing, like we've spoken about this, I just don't agree with what it is. I don't think it's fair that they could go along and win their championship and not be able to go off and kind of have the crack for a couple of weeks afterwards. Like is probably, you know, it's hard because you put everything into that and you want to get it done. You win in Croke Park, you win your championship in Croke Park, and then you're facing into the tier above you. It's just unfair in my view.
That's in spite of what you did the week after.
Yeah, no, it is, and it was. Don't get me wrong, Mixer. It was great. It was massive. It was a day that I'll never forget. In hurling terms, but I'm not like, geez, we'd love to see it happening again. But when you look at the reality of it, there are two different tiers of the competition, and you're throwing them into it like you're talking about. You know, take even Cork now at the moment, like they're the most informed team, and one of them.
So you wouldn't reward. You think the competition just then they should win the All Ireland?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I could see the merits in what they're trying to do, but the reality is the odds are completely stacked against you. And I just think if you were to look at it across all sport prisms, and I know we're different, and I don't get me wrong, Mullers, I'm, you know, if they go out and give a big performance and you know, knock over a big team, brilliant for hurling, brilliant opportunity for them to go into the championship. But I just, when you look at it across all sport competitions, you know, where else would you get it where you're putting, it's like rewarding the championship team and say, listen, by the way, lads, you have to play Man City next weekend. You know, that's what it's kind of like. Yeah. And I know I could see why it was done, but I think maybe look at something different. Like, I think you want to let them lads go enjoy that. Like, you know, I know myself, look, we were very lucky, and I don't want to keep, you know, we find yourself coming back to this. It was a great occasion. Like on the Monday evening, we're like, right, lads, we'll have a cut off the dubs, and you felt like it, you know, you felt like the parent coming into the fucking, you know, coming into Tato Park or something, say, right, lads, I know you want to stay going on the old roller coasters there, but it's time to go. You know, you want them to, like, and you know this, John, you want to enjoy those victories, and it's very hard to enjoy a victory and say, Ashley, look, we'll continue next week if we don't win. It's not the same.
But if they expand, if they expand the championship by a couple of weeks, I think the way to look at it is, whatever team loses the weekend, I most certainly don't think they should go on the championship.
Yes.
And you even go back to Offaly last year. Offaly lost, and then they had to face into the playing Tipperary, albeit they had home advantage.
Yeah, the runners up record is terrible in the preliminary All Ireland quarter final.
So what I would do for next year, right? Given how tough the Munster Championship is, I think the reward for coming third in the Munster Championship should be a direct quarter final appearance. Cut out this All Ireland preliminary. But what I would do for the Joe McDonagh winners is, and given that the Leinster Championship ain't as taxing as the Munster Championship, I would have the Joe McDonagh winners then facing the third in the Leinster Championship, the preliminary quarter final. And I think it would be a good way for the Joe McDonagh winners to go and test themselves against the third team in that Leinster, in that whoever comes out of that third Leinster round robin championship, because it would be a good indicator where they are.
Where they're at, yeah. But you'd have to give them a fortnight, to be fair.
Fortnight, Jace, 100% Jace.
Yeah. A
lot of Munster bias here, lads. Mull.
Hey, that's why we're the hey, Verney, that's why we're the creme de la creme, kid. Hey, Verney.
Verney, I say nothing, just wait the long grass.
Johnny Tight Lips over there.
Verney, we're keeping the show on the road at the moment. You know what I mean? Between gate receipts and entertainment, the whole lot. So.
Kilkenny boys are too busy with Beckham Bruce in Nolan Park. That's what they're more worried about, entertainment. Quickly call the Joe Mac final, Mull.
I think Offaly with momentum. I think, they lost the two finals last year, the under-20 final, and they lost the Joe McDonagh final. I just don't think you can underestimate, what they'll take out of last Saturday. And if Eddie's just touched on it there, ticket sales are high. I think it's going to be a cracking game to look forward to. I think it'll be tight, but I see Offaly just about edging it and getting over the line.
I'd be woeful anxious about this one now. I think this is very, very similar to last year. I think Laois are in a good spot and hurling well all year. Yeah. This is a one score game. I'm not even going to try and call it. Eddie?
I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up. How much of a gap is there to the Leinster Final, because there could well be extra time in that one.
Yeah, no, it throws in a 3:30. Leinster Final throws in at 6, so they've allowed for it.
So it's relatively. Look, and you'd say I hope it doesn't go down to either of them don't go down to decide it on penalties. I hope that doesn't happen anyway. But look, Lee should love to. Would they love to spoil the Offaly party at the moment? Oh Jesus, they'd love it. But look, the head would say to you that Offaly look to have a little bit more balance at the moment. But like I said, Laois have definitely turned around their year, and they are hurling fierce well.
Just a quick one, lads, and we'll only touch on this briefly. Mull, the All-Ireland final ticket's gone up to €100. I know that they haven't been raised in the guts of a decade, but I don't know, lads. I think we're pricing certain people out of the market here. It's a real busy helter-skelter season with more games than ever, more expense than ever, more travel than ever, more costs than ever. We're obviously in the middle of a cost of living crisis as well. What do you make of this, Mull? They've put a nice round number, but I don't know. I don't think it needed to go there. What do you think?
Yeah, well, look, Jesus, people are probably listening in now saying, here this fella goes again. He was on about GA go, and now he's on about
Mullane the economist.
Yeah, my only fear, Verney, is that, and I just hope we don't go down this route, is that GA is for everyone, all right? Doesn't matter what class of people you have. Yeah. GA is inclusive for everybody. And I just hope that we're not going down the road of pricing a certain class of people out of going to games, and a certain class can go to games. And right, the Munster Final the weekend, €45. I think that's great value on considering what type of match we're going to get. I take it the Leinster and the Joe McDonagh round robin is 45. I think that will be
40.
Extra. Yeah, 40. I think it's again very, very good value. But like, lads, there's the potential that Clare and Limerick could again meet in the All-Ireland final in 7 weeks' time, right? So you're paying €45 in to go and watch 30 amateur men run around the field and put on an unbelievable occasion. Because at the end of the day, lads, I keep going back to it, it's all about the players. Without the players, we have nothing, all right? So if on the off chance that Clare and Limerick are to meet in the final again in 6-7 weeks' time, how can you justify having the price where you have to pay an extra €55 to watch the same 30 amateur sportsmen run around the field and play the exact same match? And probably we mightn't get as good as match as we might get the weekend. So I'm just scratching my head where, and I go back to it. I think they're going to have to look at it, because this condensed season where, there's only a certain amount of income comes into a household per month. All right. Now, before, right, you had the luxury of, you go to a game, right, I have another 3 or 4 weeks to save up and target going to that game. But you don't even have that luxury anymore. And hence why I think that's why we're seeing empty seats around the stadiums. And, even it was highlighted with the Dubs 2 weeks ago in the football, why it was only 11,000, because the Dubs are no different to us cultures down the road. They had the game against Laois. They had a couple of games in the Leinster Championship, and they're probably feeling it in the pocket. And yeah, I just think €100, right? Granted, you said there, Verney, there hasn't been a ticket surge for a couple of years, but why do we keep going back to it? It's more and more and more. You know, increase. Why is there never a decrease? Like, I can never understand that.
Inflation.
You know, there's never a decrease, or there's never anything. Give something back to the normal GA fan. Give them something back. Now, look, it's not all doom and gloom. To their credit, I would say the GA, the children tickets, I would.
I was just going to.
For that, it's €5. But lads, you know,
but there's no children tickets for an All-Ireland final.
You're saying the FAI should take a leaf out of the GA's book. Like, you look at the FAI Cup final is €20, and that's a semi-professional, and some of the teams are professional, and we've an amateur body, and we're charging an astronomical amount of money, €100, and that is my only worry and my only fear going forward, is that we're going to price a certain class of people out of going to these games, and I fear that going forward. You know, like to see it. I would never ever like to see that happening within the GA. You know,
thing about it as well, Mull, is if it's €100 between the 265s, you'd say, listen, fair enough. If it's £80 at the 45s and it's £60 at the 21s, like, how is it €100 to sit at the bottom of the Davin stand, lads? Like, that was the point
I was going to make. If you look at the Aviva, I think there's 3 categories of tickets. So I think the GA has to look at it that way, right? Because, you know, a few little points. If you're bringing 2 of your kids with you to an All-Ireland final, that's $300, lads, straight away. Not to mention, you know,
some crisps and Coke
and the whole family. Like, if you're bringing a family day out, if it's 4 or 5 in the family, 6 in the family, that's a lot of twine before you ever put a drop of diesel in the car, before you decide you're going to stay over, before you get a bit of food, any of that stuff, match programs, all the bits and pieces and trimmings that goes with it. So to go to an All-Ireland final now with a family, lads, is just almost out of reach now for a lot of families, and you want kids to experience that. But I definitely have a huge kind of a thing about categorising the prices. If you're caught on the front row, down in the corner, in line with the sideline, in the Davin end, and you're looking at lads' calves or their togs or whatever, and you have lads that are sitting up in the double letters in 332, 333, and they have a beautiful view of that pitch or wherever, or even upstairs in the premium level or wherever it is, the upper deck, there's no way you should be paying the same price. The price needs to be categorised. And at least then you can make your decision. Yeah, you can say, well, it's the rich man gets the better ticket or whatever. But at least, as John said there, you're making it accessible for everybody. And I would also fear, lads, is, okay, it's gone to the ton now. You know, when is it going to go another little bit? Because, yeah, it hasn't jumped in a few years. But the All-Ireland final now, like you said there, the amount of matches now through the middle of the summer are very, very scarce. You know, your quarterfinals are going to be in Thurles or maybe neutral venues. So you've only the weekend of the All-Ireland semi-finals, 6th and 7th of July, and then the 21st for your All-Ireland final. That's 3 hurling matches, along with the Leinster final, but 3 big hurling matches to fill Croke Park. So there's probably not enough occasions, so they have to probably max out that. And again, at a time we're all cribbing about the GA go and they turn around and slap a little hike on the tickets. It's frustrating and it's hard for people. I guarantee you there's a lot of people, if their county gets to the All-Ireland this year, there's going to be a lot of disappointed kids at home.
Just even on the £100, if you threw in a programme as part of that ticket as well, which is £7 or £8, lads, now at this stage, and you've no minor match now, you've no curtain raiser. I know they're thinking about doing something in time, so at least they could, or you know, as a concession at the shop or something into it as well. It
is very, very, very. I'd be expecting a 3-course meal with the ticket.
Come on, Mull. You'll be up at the buffet for the day. You'll be going pulling tickets from everybody and trying to make sure you get double helpings if at all possible.
But Jesus, lads, gone are the days. I remember being at the 1992 final, and Joey Carron, he bet Carron's father, he brought myself and Mark Dunphy to the match. And you remember it was Kilkenny were playing Cork and Waterford were playing Galway in the All-Ireland. The old wooden seats, and you get 2 juveniles in on the one ticket, like, you know, jeez. And those are those are the memories that you bring forward with you in the later years. And as Eddie touched on there, the fear is that, a good few kids are going to be deprived of going to an All-Ireland final going forward, which is a bit of a shame, really,
No, it definitely is. Lads, we'll just finish off with our moment of the weekend, which is sponsored by Air. Lads, I'm going to jump in straight away. It's off the beaten track, but I don't know if you saw Brian Teahan's goal in the Laurie Maher final. Holy smokes.
Oh, he pulled on the ground.
Oh, it was sweet music, like the 1980s all over again, boys. It was a lovely ball played across the square. No touch,
no on the drop.
Yeah, no hand, no nothing. Bangs it straight to the net. Absolutely beautiful goal. And by all accounts, it was the difference maker against Longford. But that's my moment of the weekend. Ned, I'd say I have a fair idea. You're probably going in around the same area or the same venue for your moment of the weekend, the 2E.
Yeah, it's hard to come away from it. I just think in the overall, it's not that I love it, but to be fair, it's going to give the Icelandic boys or the Iceland boys the clap, a run for their money. But it's good for hurling. It's good for hurling to have that back, and hopefully others can follow. Because, like I said, you want all the teams up there, top table, and flesh out the Leinster Championship. But I was there. I was working in a different capacity as Mull, but it was a great occasion. Even before the match, like before you got in to see a bit of it, like you could hear when Offaly scored, you knew Offaly scored. It just the roar, the crowd. But it was just the energy and the passion that they brought. And again, I've spoken about this a few times. I love it going to, you're not going to, that would have been lost in Croke Park. Maybe Thurles, you would have got 30,000 at, maybe more, but it was just an ideal atmosphere for that competition, and great for young lads like that, 30, 36, 38 young lads to get a reward like that and play in an atmosphere like that. So that would be the moment of the week.
Mull, quickly, what's your favourite GA chant?
Oh, the Offaly one, all the way, absolutely.
Give us an old bar of it there.
There's nothing would even compared to it. Oh, lads, it's just Offaly. And they build it up, and Jesus, like if you're an Offaly player or you're the opposition player, you're saying, oh Jesus. If you're the opposition player and you're hearing that chant, you're saying, we're under pressure here. And then if you're an Offaly player, you're saying, Jesus, we're on the front foot.
You want to go to war.
We can leave it on even more, But my moment of the week, the scenes in the aftermath of the match, I was lucky enough to do the co-commentary with Martin Kiley, and Martin was excellent on the night. And Martin was able to get, by chance, he got Leo O'Connor straight away in the aftermath of the match. And to see the likes of Duigan celebrating, and Leo O'Connor, the interview that he gave with Martin Kiley after the match, and I was there alongside just to witness it. He touched on everything. He even touched on his own mother and father, that he lost within the last couple of years, the journey that he's gone on with Offaly,
in Limerick, man, isn't he?
The love and the affection that he has for these players, and what Duigan done for Leo O'Connor.
Yeah, would you believe, Eddie? He actually was playing. He came on and scored a point in the 1994 All-Ireland. So Offaly inflicted the greatest heartbreak of all on him, and now he has created magic memories with it.
Story.
It's an unbelievable story. He'll
write a book on it.
Yeah, we might do at some stage. And even the fact that Cregan led Offaly in 94 against Limerick, and now you have Leo O'Connor joining his Clohan clubmate Eamon Cregan, but from the same club.
They're clubmates as well.
Yeah, and Derry O'Donovan, who was physical trainer of Offaly in 94. So it's a mad story. But we've got another mad weekend of hurling ahead, and we will be back again next Monday to look back on the Munster and Leinster finals as well as the Joe McDonagh Cup. And in the meantime, don't forget to rate, review and follow the show on Apple, Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from. Thanks a million for listening, and goodbye.